Hey everyone, how's it going? For today's video, let's take an up close and personal, in-depth look at the very unique Hummer H3 Alpha. And this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the H3. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clipping over the performance data, and show you a bunch of the unique aspects of both the interior as well as exterior.
Special thanks to North Point Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for providing the H3 featured in today's video. For more information on their current inventory, please feel free to check out their website provided in the description box below.
And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. This exterior color is known as birch white, and is paired with an ebony leather interior with pewter color accent piping across the seats and the floor mats.
The H3 Alpha features rack and pinion steering with hydraulic power assistance routed through a thick 4-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel with a unique badge in the center. The steering system was revised for 2008, claimed to deliver a better on-center feel and enhanced off-road reliability. The ratio is 17:1 and takes 3.3 full turns to lock, and turning diameter is a relatively light 37 feet. Depending on your engine choice for 2008, there were two transmissions available. With the standard inline 5-cylinder, you can opt for a 5-speed manual gearbox or GM's Hydra-Matic 4L60 4-speed automatic. The new V8 option was only available with the automatic as shown here, routed through a console-mounted leather-wrapped shifter.
And so we're going to flip on the automatic headlamps, fog lamps, and the hazards. The driver's side window is automatic down. And we're going to check out the exterior.
The H3 lineup was the third and final new vehicle series from Hummer, representing the smallest offerings behind the H2 and legendary H1. I've always been a big fan of the brand. Their slogan, "Like Nothing Else," resonated throughout their products. Whether it's your cup of tea or not is totally up to you, as they're quite polarizing for many, but there's just something about their immense sizes, brawny looks, and off-road abilities that to me were always something to admire, especially the completely mental H1. They were different, aggressive, and just screamed freedom. The biggest downside to the traditional offerings, aside from almost laughable fuel economy, was in fact how big they were. Speaking more towards the H2, which is a far easier vehicle to daily drive than an H1, its size can still be quite daunting to many, especially when parked next to a Tahoe or Yukon. Therefore, in an attempt to broaden appeal and introduce the Hummer brand to a whole new customer basis, the H3 was launched for 2005. A smaller, more nimble and practical vehicle than the H2 that also promised better fuel economy, but one that didn't have to sacrifice its off-road DNA. Based on the GMT 355 small truck chassis that provided the basis for the Chevrolet Colorado and GMC Canyon, the H3's body-on-frame platform, known as the GMT 345, benefited from a complete redesign, including the addition of more steel cross members and frame boxing, giving it a level of stiffness and durability that you would expect from a Hummer, with far greater maneuverability than any Hummer before it. The front suspension was moved forward about 2.3 inches and 1.2 inches further down, which not only shortens the front overhang but pushes the frame up higher for more ground clearance. The front track is wider on either side by 1.5 inches thanks to longer and strengthened control arms. This is part of the reason why the fender flares project out so much from the body, providing shelter for the oversized tires. It also results in a stellar turning radius as they're far enough away from the frame to have the freedom to steer at greater angles. The H3 Alpha was introduced for 2008, the second Hummer vehicle to wear the Alpha badge since the H1, and the first time an Alpha had been developed through collaboration with GM's Performance Division. Alpha represents the best of what Hummer had to offer in terms of performance, capability, and comfort. Like the H1, the H3 had a number of unique styling bits and plenty of standard luxury features, but the most important was the well-welcomed introduction of a more powerful and capable V8 engine to really set it apart from the base inline 5-cylinder. While the original H3s had a starting MSRP of around $30,000, an Alpha, which pretty much came loaded to the gills, hiked the price closer to $40,000, or slightly higher even with the H3X styling package. While the H3 always represented the majority of Hummer sales for the remainder of production, it could probably have been even higher if the V8 was available on the more affordable entry model. GM's 5.3-liter small block enhanced maximum towing capability by 33% for a total of 6,000 pounds. To allow for the larger engine, the H3's frame and engine compartment firewall structure had to be modified, along with fitting a redesigned oil pan to maintain consistent oil pressures when driving on steep grades. Other non-structural updates include the H3's front differential case, which is made of cast iron on the Alpha and aluminum on other models, in addition to new engine mounts and higher torsion bar rates up front to support the engine's extra mass. A heavier duty cooling system helps keep the Alpha thermally managed, while the transmission was modified to incorporate a larger diameter torque converter. The shock valving is also unique to the Alpha to maintain ride quality. Compared to the H2, the H3 is 16.9 inches shorter in length, 6 inches shorter in height, and 6.5 inches narrower, making it a far more easier vehicle to navigate in tighter areas. Obviously, the hallmark with any Hummer is off-road performance. The H3 has the ability to ford streams of water up to 24 inches deep, traveling 5 miles an hour, or 16 inches deep at 20 miles an hour. Unlike some of the body features of the H2, the H3 incorporates more steel components, including the hood, aside from the fender flares, bumper covers, and cowl-mounted airboxes, which are completely functional, raising the engine intakes high enough to allow deep water travel. It can climb 16-inch vertical slopes and rocks while being able to plow through deep sand. It can tackle 60% inclines and 40% side slopes. Underbody plates protect vital components, while heavy-duty front and rear recovery hooks allow for added pulling ability off the beaten path. If you plan on off-roading your H3, the Adventure Package available for the Alpha adds some extra equipment to further outfit it for the great outdoors. Upgrades such as 33-inch or 285/75 tires, a 2-speed transfer case with 4.03:1 low-range lock reduction compared to the standard 2.64:1 ratio, and a fully locking differential help not only with traction and crawling abilities, but also helps pull you through ruts and over rough terrain, rocks, and other obstacles. This is due to an enhanced 39.4 degrees of approach compared to 37.5 degrees with the standard 32-inch tires. Departure and breakover angles also see increases to 36.5 and 25 degrees respectively, compared to 35.5 and 23.5 degrees respectively. The available reduction in the transfer case allows first gear to crawl at 1.7 miles per hour per 1,000 engine revolutions. Quite impressive for its class, especially since, if I remember correctly, the H3 was the only vehicle in its class to come standard with a 2-speed transfer case. Ground clearance can be as high as 9.1 inches with the larger tires, about an inch lower than an H2, otherwise it rides 8.5 inches above the pavement on 32-inch tires. Crawl ratio for both engines and transmissions is 33:1, but with the off-road package it can be as low as 69:1 for the manual and 50:1 for the automatic. Step-in height, which varies less than an inch between the tire sizes, is made far easier by the available tubular assist steps. The H3 came with 16 by 7.5 inch alloys as standard equipment, finished in either painted silver or chrome as seen here. They're also wrapped in the standard 32-inch or 265/75 Goodyear all-terrain tires, able to hold around 0.69 g of lateral acceleration. If you opted for the flashier H3X model, you get larger 18-inch chrome wheels with 265/65 Bridgestone radials. Of course, as mentioned previously, larger 33-inch tires came with the off-road package when paired with the 16-inch wheels. The brakes consist of 4-wheel discs regardless of the trim level. They measure 12.4 by 1.1 inches in front, clamped by 4-piston fixed calipers, and 12.28 by 0.47 inch discs in the rear with single-piston sliding calipers. With this setup, the H3 stops from 60 miles an hour and about 138 feet. As far as the suspension, the H3 features an independent short and long arm front suspension with torsion bars, while the rear features Hotchkiss design multi-leaf semi-elliptic dual-stage leaf springs. 46mm monotube gas-charged shocks provide the necessary dampening at each corner, with the added support coming from a 36mm tubular stabilizer bar up front and a 25mm solid stabilizer bar in the rear. Overall length is 186.7 inches with a width of 85.5 inches and a height of 74.5 inches, running on a wheelbase of 111.9 inches. Curb weight for the V8 H3 is around 4,854 pounds.
So let's go ahead and pop the hood.
The hood for the H3 opens up in the traditional fashion versus the front hinged clamshell of the H2. For 2008, it came standard with a 3.7-liter inline 5-cylinder that produced 242 horsepower at 5,600 RPM and 242 pound-feet of torque at 4,600 RPM. It's an upgraded mill that took the place of the original 3.5-liter inline 5. Even though that was pretty decent power when the engine first debuted, it was still somewhat lackluster in the H3 because it still weighed significantly more than even the largest Colorado at the time. Equipped with the all-aluminum 5.3-liter V8, you got a significant bump in performance. Unlike the 5-cylinder, which featured double overhead cams, variable exhaust valve timing, and 4 valves per cylinder, the V8 was the traditional overhead valve pushrod design with 2 valves per cylinder and a 9.9:1 compression ratio. It develops 300 horsepower at 5,200 RPM and 320 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM. Maximum engine speed for the V8 is 6,000 RPM. Neither engine is fast by any means, with the 5-cylinder clocking a 0 to 60 time of just over 10 seconds or so, but with the V8's added grunt, 60 miles an hour can be achieved in a little over 8 seconds. As far as fuel economy, the H3 carries a 23-gallon fuel tank. Equipped with the V8, it returns 13 miles to a gallon in the city and 16 on the highway while running on regular unleaded. With the 5-cylinder, economy slightly improves to 14 miles to a gallon in the city and 18 on the highway. The Hummer brand tends to lean more towards the premium side, so especially with the H3 Alpha, you'll find a very well-appointed interior that's comfortable, has pretty good build quality, and a nice amount of available and standard features. Compared to the H2, which was often criticized for its more plasticky interior, the H3's build quality is pretty good in my eyes, but it still has its fair share of harder materials, especially across the doors, the dash, and the center console. You do have some padded accents here and there, especially in the touch points across the middle portion of the door with that double accent stitching, a little bit of storage, and all of your power accessories located within easy reach. My favorite part about the interior though is the seating, especially in the Alpha trim, where you have these beautifully sculpted bucket seats, piping accented across the edges of the seats, and they just look nice. They're also pretty supportive. They are heated in the Alpha trim, partial power adjustment, manual recline, Alpha stitched into the back of the headrest, not to mention power lumbar. In the mid-2007 model year, the once optional side curtain airbags became standard equipment in addition to rear seat child locks. The headrest as well as seatbelts are adjustable. Down below, the carpeted floor mats actually are designed like all-weather mats. They have this raised outer lip to help contain dirt and water and things of that nature. You have a manually adjusting steering wheel, your park and brake releases to the left, all of your lighting controls, fog lamps, and a nice simple dash. It's definitely a lot simpler of a design that you find in the H2, a little bit more modern looking as well. Again, while it doesn't have a whole lot of soft touch material, it does have a nice quality look to it.
So let's go ahead and see if she sounds. So we're going to shut her up. Soft closing door panels.
Of course, with the Alpha, you also got the high-end 7-speaker premium Monsoon audio system with rear-mounted subwoofer and standard 6-disc in-dash CD changer. You could also opt for a navigation system, including a backup camera.
Side curtain airbags. Hands-free telephone microphone for the OnStar system and 3-position garage home link built into the driver's side visor. You also have an auto-dimming rear-view mirror with compass and outside temperature that also houses the OnStar controls in the bottom. And the sole button up top controls your automatic sunroof. Little window deflector pops up and slides back to a certain position, and you can hit the button again and open it fully. It's quite a wide opening, gives the interior a very open feeling. The head unit is pretty typical full-size GM SUV of this era, but it's styled slightly differently for the H3 with this unique metallic finish. It also looks like it has a bit of a curve to it flowing the curvature of the dash. You have your basic commands, radio modes here, clock adjustment, tune, seek, preset stations, and equalizer functions off to the right. It's pretty simple to use once you play with it a second.
Your various 4-wheel drive modes are easily accessed by buttons located in the top of the center stack.
Continuing down the silver center console, you have 3 rotary dials that correspond to your single-zone climate control system. Temperature off to the left, AC activation, fan speed in the middle, and recycling, and your different zones, front and rear defrost. Rear wiper controls and 2 12-volt power outlets, not to mention a little bit of storage ahead of the gear selector. 2 cup holders in 2 variant sizes across the middle, and a leather-padded center console with the same color accent piping. You have a little tray right here for some small items, but you can remove it out and get a little bit more space down below. The gauges are also simple, with just your essential information being displayed and a silver metallic face like you would find on the center stack. Your intermittent wipers, high beams, as well as cruise controls all located in the left-hand stalk there. Alrighty. We'll go and shut her down. And check out the back seat. Even though when one thinks of a Hummer, they think of a giant cavernous vehicle, but the back seat in the H3 is a little bit tighter than you would expect. For one, I feel like the doors need to open up at a little bit more of an angle, maybe 90 degrees, or it's probably at, I don't know, 60, 75, something like that. But for larger individuals, it might be a little bit tight trying to get in. The other thing that provides a little bit of hindrance is the wheel well, which intrudes on the cabin space quite a bit. That's not to say that it's not accommodating, but we'll talk a little bit more about interior space when I hop in just a second. The door panels wear a little bit of a harder material with just a little bit of padding across the middle, whereas the unique leather and color accent piping also carries on to the rear seats. You can also fold down these back seats if you'd like some more storage space to the rear. You want to first grab the handle in the bottom here and pull up the bottom seat cushion. Then grab it and just maneuver it to where it falls in up front. Then grab the handle on the top of each seat back and fold it forward. Then you have a relatively flat loading space. I mean, there's a pretty big dip right here that goes into the back, but with the vehicle's packaging, the suspension and everything like that, it's not too bad and it's definitely usable. You have some nice hard plastic here, and I know it's funny saying nice hard plastic, but it protects the seat backs, allows you an all-weather space, so you don't have to worry about getting mud anywhere or anything like that while traveling. Like I said, not that the H3 isn't an accommodating vehicle. I mean, it's certainly pretty big. There's a good amount of space inside, but the way the vehicle is packaged may limit a little bit of leg room and headroom for taller individuals and larger individuals. Like I said, this portion of the wheel well right here intrudes on the entry space just a little bit, but you do have a step-up bar here and a grip handle up top to help making the entry and exit a whole lot easier. If you're over 6 feet, you're going to want to watch your head on top of the frame here too. Once inside, it's definitely a comfortable place to be. These seats have a plentiful amount of padding down below and in the back. There's not really a whole lot of lateral support at all, but it's a comfortable seating environment. I'm around 5'10", 5'11" or so, and headroom really isn't a problem at all. There's actually quite an abundant amount of headspace. In this portion of the headliner right here, which is where the sunroof would come back, I probably have about, I don't know, 3 inches or so. And if you tip your head back just a little bit here, the headliner actually cuts out all the way to the top of the roof because obviously you don't have the sunroof storage. In that case, it's significantly more. I'd probably say double the amount of headspace, so headroom really isn't an issue. Legroom might be an issue, just depending on how long your legs are, who you have sitting in front of you, and if you have any storage space behind this seat. Now, I probably have about an inch, inch and a half of leg space across the edges. You have a little bit more in the cutout portion here. Again, depends on if you have anything in the backseat storage area. One thing that I wish that it had was an extra armrest, because even though you have an armrest over here, it still has that harder plastic material. The armrests aren't padded back here. So I feel like I'm longing for just a little bit of extra support across the side here, just because you don't have any lateral support. Down below here, you do have 2 cup holders that fold out, one right here, and one tucked in back here. Backseat passengers also have side airbags, and up top, you have grip handles. And oddly enough, I'm surprised that there's no coat hooks back here, or at least I haven't found any yet, either on this one or this one up here. For a bit of extra illumination, there's also 2 reading lamps up top. Overall, the H3's back seat does deliver a whole lot of comfort, and there's actually a tremendous amount of lower back support, which is quite nice, especially for a longer trip. I would suggest if you're looking for this vehicle, try to find one, sit in the back of it, get a really good feel for it, and kind of compare if you have kids or friends or anybody like that, like comparing dimensions and stuff and seeing if you think they'll fit, because everybody's body type is different and stuff, and while I fit pretty decently back here, I don't know if I'd want to take a trip to Florida in it necessarily, but it's perfect for shorter trips. So enough of my rambling, let's go ahead and check out the rest of the vehicle.
Opening the cargo area is as simple as grabbing the handle to the right. It still is a pretty heavy door, so if you're parked on an incline or something like that, it may be a little bit difficult. It swings out like a normal car door, though, with left-sided hinges. Another big plus is that the spare tire is mounted to the tailgate, so there's no multi-step process to unlock the tire assembly like there is in an H2. Once inside, you'll be greeted by 29.5 cubic feet of cargo space with the rear seats up. Fold them down and it expands to 55.7 cubic feet. I believe it's somewhat limited as the seats don't fold completely flat, but with the square shape of the vehicle, you can still haul some pretty large items without hindrance.
The passenger seat also features the same power and manual adjustments that you find on the driver's seat, including heated function. Modest size glove box down below.
The H3 offers a lot for SUV buyers in terms of capability and practicality for its size. Looking like a miniature H2, it definitely has that signature Hummer style. While fuel economy still isn't great and the back seat is somewhat cramped, if you're looking for a vehicle in this class that's like nothing else, then the H3 might be the perfect vehicle for you.
Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the Hummer H3 Alpha. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.